Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into a fascinating topic, mindfulness, living in the Buddhist perspective, living mindfully, the key to peace and liberation, modern life, and losing ourselves. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, when was the last time you truly lived in the present moment? Do we often find ourselves caught in the whirlwind of work, worries, unfulfilled expectations, or regrets about the past? Modern life makes us increasingly busy, yet at the same time, we become more disconnected from ourselves. We eat in a rush, without savoring the flavors of our food, talk to loved ones while our minds are preoccupied with our phones, walk down the street but let our thoughts wander elsewhere. We keep chasing external things and forget one fundamental question. What does it truly mean to live? In this context, living mindfully becomes a guiding compass, helping us return to ourselves, rediscover peace, meaning, and true freedom. But what does it mean to live mindfully? What benefits does it bring? And how can we practice it in the midst of this ever-changing world? Introduction to mindfulness. Living in Buddhism. Definition of mindfulness. Living mindfully is not an unfamiliar concept or a lofty ideal reserved only for monks and spiritual practitioners. It is simply a state of complete awareness, clearly recognizing what is happening within oneself and around without being swept away by unconscious reactions. Buddhism emphasizes that mindfulness is the core of the spiritual path. The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from external circumstances, but from how our mind reacts to the world. When we live mindfully, we are no longer controlled by negative emotions, illusions, or unnecessary afflictions. Instead, we perceive everything with wisdom, mindfulness, and compassion. Mindfulness. Living in Buddhism means being clearly aware of reality in the present moment without being swept away by the past or future. Mindfulness is not merely recognizing things, but also understanding their true nature, without being obscured by ignorance. In Buddhism, mindfulness is closely associated with sati, mindfulness, and sampajanya, clear comprehension. Mindfulness refers to the ability to be clearly aware of what is happening without distraction, while clear comprehension is the deep understanding of the nature of those occurrences. When practicing mindfulness, one no longer reacts out of unconscious habits, but instead perceives everything with clarity and objectivity. For example, when eating, a mindful person does not merely chew and swallow, but fully experiences the taste, is aware of every movement, and is not distracted by wandering thoughts. When walking, they are fully conscious of each step and feel the contact of their feet with the ground. This attentiveness prevents the mind from being consumed by unnecessary worries and stress. Why should we live mindfully? Mindful living brings numerous benefits, both mentally and physically. In modern society, people are often caught up in a fast-paced lifestyle, performing tasks without full awareness. This leads to stress, anxiety, and various psychological disorders. Mindfulness helps us reduce stress and anxiety. By living mindfully, we are not carried away by worries about the future or regrets about the past. Cultivate inner peace. A mindful mind is a tranquil mind, free from the bondage of negative emotions. Enhance the quality of life. Being fully present in each moment allows us to experience life more completely. Develop wisdom and understanding. Mindfulness helps us observe and comprehend the nature of all things, fostering wisdom and compassion. Enlightened beings have emphasized that living without mindfulness is like a drunkard walking on a tightrope, always staggering and easily falling into suffering. In contrast, a mindful person clearly knows their path, walking each step with steadiness and clarity. Common misconceptions about mindfulness. Many people think that mindfulness is difficult, but in reality, it begins with the simplest things. They often have misunderstandings when hearing about mindful living. Mindfulness does not mean being overly serious or austere. Some think that mindfulness equates to rigidity or detachment from normal life. In reality, a mindful person can be cheerful and sociable while maintaining clarity and not being swept away by negative emotions. Mindfulness is not about escaping reality. Some mistakenly believe that mindfulness is a way to withdraw from real life. However, a mindful person does not avoid problems, but faces them objectively, without being dominated by emotions. Mindfulness is not just meditation. Many assume that mindfulness only occurs during meditation. In truth, mindfulness should be maintained in all daily activities, from eating and working to social interactions. Introducing mindful living in Buddhism is not merely a philosophical concept, but also a highly practical method. Mindful living helps us overcome suffering, experience peace in the present, and move toward enlightenment. By practicing mindfulness, we not only improve our personal quality of life, but also spread peace and understanding to those around us. Mindfulness is not an exclusive state reserved for monastics, but something that anyone can cultivate to attain true happiness. The philosophical foundations of mindful living, impermanence, suffering, and non-self. The three marks of existence in Buddhism are impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. These fundamental principles help practitioners gain a clear understanding of reality and live mindfully. Impermanence, anicca. Everything in the world is constantly changing. Nothing is permanent. When we realize the impermanent nature of life, we no longer cling to things or suffer from loss. Suffering, dukkha. Life is inherently full of suffering regardless of wealth, age, or status. Suffering arises when we cling to things that cannot be held onto forever. Non-self, anatta. There is no fixed self. Human existence is merely a combination of the five aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Understanding this helps us let go of ego clinging and live with greater peace. For example, when someone loses a significant amount of wealth, they may fall into deep suffering if they do not understand impermanence. However, if they are mindful and recognize that wealth is only a temporary means, they will be able to accept the loss and move forward with their life. Karma and cause and effect. The principle of karma, cause and effect, is the foundation of mindfulness. Every action we take leaves consequences, whether big or small. A deep understanding of karma makes us more responsible for our actions, speech, and thoughts. Good and bad karma. Doing good deeds leads to positive outcomes, while negative actions bring suffering. Mindfulness helps us make conscious choices in our actions. The effects of cause and effect in life. If we speak harsh words today, others may be hurt, and over time this can create resentment. A mindful person is aware of their words and actions to avoid creating negative karma. A person practicing mindfulness will always ask, before taking any action, what consequences will this action bring? This awareness helps them avoid negative karma and cultivate good karma. The Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. The Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths form the foundation of Buddhist teachings, helping us understand the nature of life and the path to ending suffering, dukkha, the truth of suffering. Life is suffering, from birth, aging, illness, and death to mental distress. Samudaya, the truth of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is craving and attachment. Nirodha, the truth of the end of suffering. Suffering can cease when we extinguish craving. Magga, the truth of the path to the end of suffering. The path to ending suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path consists of 8 practices that help us live mindfully and attain enlightenment. Right view, samadhi. Seeing life correctly, free from ignorance. Right thought, samma sankappa, thinking rightly, free from greed and hatred. Right speech, samma vaka, speaking truthfully and avoiding harmful words. Right action, samma kammanta, acting ethically, avoiding harm to oneself and others. Right livelihood, samma ajava, earning a living in a righteous manner. Right effort, samma vayama, making the right efforts, diligently practicing. Right mindfulness, samma sati, maintaining mindfulness in daily activities. Right concentration, samma samadhi, developing concentration through meditation, keeping the mind undistracted. Those who practice the Noble Eightfold Path live a mindful life, free from suffering, and ultimately attain liberation. The philosophical foundations of mindful living in Buddhism help us understand the true nature of life. When we fully comprehend impermanence, karma, and the Four Noble Truths, we are no longer trapped by afflictions, but instead live a life of wisdom and inner peace. Methods for practicing mindful living, mindfulness in every action. Mindfulness, sati, is the core of mindful living. It means keeping full awareness in the present moment, observing without judgment. Whatever we do, walking, standing, eating, or working, if we practice mindfulness, we will not let our minds drift into the past or future. For example, when washing dishes, instead of letting our minds wander to work or worries, we fully focus on the water flowing, the smoothness of the dishes, and the movements of our hands. This practice helps us cultivate concentration and live more deeply in each moment. Meditation, samatha, calm meditation, and vipassana, insight meditation. Samatha meditation helps calm the mind, develop concentration, and reach a deep state of stillness. The practitioner focuses on an object such as the breath, a sound, or a sacred image to keep the mind undisturbed. Vipassana meditation is a method of deep observation into reality, allowing us to see impermanence, non-self, and the nature of the mind. When practicing Vipassana, we observe emotions and thoughts without being carried away by them, thereby developing wisdom. For example, when anger arises, if we are not mindful, we may react impulsively, leading to negative consequences. But if we practice insight meditation, we observe the anger, recognize it as a fleeting mental phenomenon, and let it go without being controlled by it. Contemplation and wisdom development. Mindful living is not just about observing the present moment, but also involves deep self-reflection. Contemplation helps us recognize negative habits and thought patterns that influence our minds. A useful contemplation exercise is to spend a few minutes before bed reflecting on the day. Did I say anything today that hurt someone? Did I engage in any unwholesome actions? Did I experience moments of true mindfulness? Through self-reflection, we gradually change our behavior, become more mindful, and live more virtuously. The practice of mindful living is not just theoretical, but must be applied in every moment of life. From mindfulness in daily activities, meditation for present awareness, to contemplation for wisdom development, all these practices guide us on the path of mindfulness, helping us find peace and enlightenment in our daily lives. Mindful living. In daily life, at work occupies a significant portion of our daily lives. Without mindfulness, we can easily be swept away by stress, pressure, or work mechanically, simply waiting for the day to end. However, with mindful practice, work is no longer a burden, but an opportunity for self-growth. Focus on the present. When working, we should concentrate on each task without letting our minds drift into unnecessary worries. For example, when writing a report, instead of thinking about criticism from a boss, we should simply focus on expressing ideas as clearly as possible. See work as a spiritual practice. If we view work as part of our path to inner development, we will no longer feel overwhelmed. Challenges and difficulties at work become opportunities to cultivate patience, compassion, and wisdom. Maintain inner peace in all situations. When facing stress or conflict at work, take a deep breath, return to yourself, and observe emotions instead of reacting immediately. This helps us remain calm and make wise decisions. In family life, family is where our true selves are most visible. Without mindfulness, we can be easily carried away by negative emotions such as anger, blame, or neglecting precious moments with loved ones. Listen and understand. When talking with parents, spouses, or children, we should truly listen without judgment. If a child makes a mistake, instead of scolding immediately, we can calmly ask questions to understand the reason before guiding them. Appreciate each moment. Life is impermanent, and no one knows what tomorrow will bring. Therefore, we should cherish every moment with family instead of spending too much time on our phones or work. Let go of ego and practice compassion. Many family conflicts arise from excessive ego. If we can humble ourselves, apologize when wrong, and be forgiving when others make mistakes, our home will become a place of harmony and warmth. In social relationships, mindful living is not only essential at work or in family life, but also in social interactions. A mindful person naturally brings peace and ease to those around them. Communicate with sincerity. When conversing, we should be fully present and not let our minds wander. A sincere word, spoken with mindfulness, can offer great comfort and support to others. Do not let negative emotions control you. In situations of disagreement or insult, mindfulness helps us avoid reacting impulsively. Instead of responding with anger, we can take a step back, observe our emotions, and reply with calmness. Act for the greater good. A mindful person does not only think about personal benefits, but also cares about the well-being of the community. When helping others, we should act selflessly without expecting anything in return. Mindful living in daily life is not something distant or abstract. It is reflected in how we behave at work, at home, and in social relationships. By practicing mindfulness and keeping our minds grounded in the present moment, we can transform ordinary moments into opportunities for growth, leading us closer to peace and enlightenment. 5. Mindful living through the 3 paths to liberation, through the Noble Eightfold Path, Theravada Buddhism. The Noble Eightfold Path is the practice taught by the Buddha to guide practitioners toward mindfulness and liberation from suffering. Mindful living through the Eightfold Path involves practicing its 8 aspects: right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right view helps us see the true nature of life, understanding impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Right thought trains the mind to be free from desire, hatred, and ignorance. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood ensure ethical conduct in speech, actions, and way of life. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration cultivate mental discipline, maintaining mindfulness in every moment. Practicing the Noble Eightfold Path not only leads to personal liberation, but also creates a life of peace and meaning in the present. Through the Bodhisattva path and Pure Land practice, Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes the Bodhisattva path, where mindful living is not only about personal practice, but also for the benefit of all beings. A Bodhisattva practitioner follows ethical precepts while making great vows and practicing the 6 paramitas, generosity, morality, patience, effort, meditation, and wisdom, to attain enlightenment. In Pure Land practice, practitioners chant the Buddha's name, visualize the Pure Land, and aspire for rebirth there to continue their spiritual progress. Chanting the Buddha's name is not merely a prayer, but a method of maintaining mindfulness, leading to deep concentration and eventual liberation from samsara. Through Vajrayana, esoteric Buddhism, Vajrayana, or the diamond vehicle, emphasizes mantras, visualization, and rituals to transform the mind. Mindful living in Vajrayana requires guidance from an authentic teacher and the practice of special methods such as mantra recitation, sacred chants, focus the mind, purify thoughts, and connect with enlightened energy. Visualization. Practitioners meditate on Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, visualizing themselves as a Buddha to accelerate enlightenment. Yogic and ritual practices. Advanced meditation techniques directly transform consciousness. The Vajrayana path enables practitioners to experience deep mindfulness, directly accessing innate wisdom and achieving liberation within this lifetime. Though the three Buddhist paths differ in approach, they all lead to the same goal: complete mindfulness and freedom from suffering. Regardless of the path chosen, the key lies in diligent practice, perseverance, and cultivating compassion and wisdom. Each path has its own unique value suited to different individuals, yet ultimately all lead to profound awakening and ultimate liberation. The benefits of mindful living. Transforming suffering. Mindful living helps individuals clearly recognize the causes of suffering and the ways to transform them. When a person is truly mindful, they are no longer completely controlled by negative emotions. Instead, they learn to observe, accept, and let go. For example, when experiencing loss, instead of drowning in sorrow, a mindful person understands that everything is impermanent, nothing lasts forever, and all things change. Similarly, when facing criticism, instead of reacting with anger, a mindful person pauses and contemplates the root of their anger, recognizing that it arises from an untrained ego. With this awareness, they can release negative emotions rather than allowing them to dictate their actions. Attaining inner peace. One of the greatest benefits of mindful living is the attainment of inner peace. A mindful person is not consumed by regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. Instead, they remain present, fully engaged in each moment. For instance, when drinking a cup of tea, mindfulness allows them to truly experience the fragrance, the warmth in their hands, and the slight bitterness on their tongue. They are fully present in that moment, rather than letting their mind be distracted by unnecessary worries. Mindful individuals also free themselves from the habit of comparing themselves to others. They understand that each person has their own unique path. No one is inherently superior or inferior. As a result, they are no longer troubled by ambition or envy. Awakening and liberation. Mindful living not only brings temporary benefits in daily life, but also serves as the foundation for enlightenment and liberation in Buddhism. By consistently maintaining mindfulness, one gradually develops wisdom to see the true nature of all things. They realize that everything is impermanent, that there is no fixed self, and that all attachments are merely illusions of the mind. A prime example is the Buddha himself, who practiced mindfulness at the deepest level, leading to ultimate enlightenment. He transcended all suffering and reached nirvana, a state beyond the cycle of birth and death. Mindful living is the path that brings individuals closer to this ultimate realization, enhancing connections with others. When a person lives mindfully, they not only transform themselves but also improve their interactions with the world around them. They become better listeners, more understanding, and more compassionate. When truly engaged in a conversation, they are not distracted by personal thoughts, but instead listen with genuine care and presence. In relationships, mindful individuals do not react impulsively, but take time to understand the root causes of conflicts before responding. This approach fosters deep, loving, and harmonious relationships. Improving physical and mental health. Scientific research has shown that mindfulness practice can reduce stress, anxiety, and even help treat psychological conditions such as depression. When a person maintains mindfulness, they regulate their emotions, minimize stress, and as a result, their body responds positively. Meditation, a key method in mindfulness practice, has been proven to lower blood pressure, strengthen the immune system, and even slow the aging process. This demonstrates that mindfulness is not just a psychological state, but has tangible effects on human health. Creating a meaningful life. Ultimately, mindful living allows people to lead a more meaningful life. When individuals no longer chase illusions or get caught up in meaningless ambitions, they devote time to what truly matters. They cherish simple moments, appreciate time with loved ones, and live with greater depth and fulfillment. A mindful person understands that true happiness does not come from material wealth or fame, but from inner peace. They learn to live simply, let go of unnecessary burdens, and cultivate genuine values. Mindful living offers countless benefits, from transforming suffering and achieving inner peace to attaining enlightenment and liberation. Additionally, it improves health, fosters meaningful relationships, and helps individuals discover the true essence of life. This is the path the Buddha taught, a path leading to genuine happiness and ultimate freedom. Obstacles to mindful. Living greed, anger, and ignorance. The greatest hindrances, the three poisons, greed, anger, and ignorance, are the biggest obstacles for those who seek to live mindfully. They not only disturb the mind, but also cloud wisdom, preventing individuals from seeing reality as it truly is. Greed, desire, attachment. When the mind is dominated by greed, a person cannot fully live in the present because they are always longing for something in the future or regretting what has been lost. For example, someone who constantly seeks wealth, status, or love may become trapped in illusions of happiness, forgetting the value of the present moment. Anger, hatred, resentment. When anger takes control, mindfulness is easily lost, leading to impulsive and uncontrolled reactions. If someone insults us and we lack mindfulness, we may instinctively respond with anger, thereby creating negative karma. Ignorance, delusion, unawareness. This is the deepest root of suffering, as it blinds wisdom and prevents people from recognizing the impermanence of all things. When dominated by ignorance, one becomes stuck in false beliefs, rigid thinking, and an inability to see things from a broader perspective. Delusion and misconceptions. About reality, ignorance is the fundamental cause of all suffering. When a person fails to see the truth of impermanence and non-self, they become entangled in false perceptions, believing that life is fixed, that the self is an independent entity, and that things will remain as they wish. For example, a person may believe that achieving fame will bring lasting happiness. However, once they attain it, they soon realize that it does not provide eternal satisfaction. They continue searching for new sources of happiness, never feeling truly fulfilled. This is the illusion created by ignorance. When ignorance combines with delusion, individuals become easily controlled by negative thoughts. They fear things that have not yet happened, suffer over things that have passed, and fail to fully live in the present moment. Old habits. Invisible barriers. People are strongly influenced by deeply ingrained thought patterns and behaviors. These habits may include impatience, impulsiveness, or reacting emotionally without reflection. Without mindfulness, we unconsciously repeat these old patterns without even realizing it. For instance, when faced with a difficult situation, instead of calmly reflecting and seeking a solution, many people immediately react by complaining, blaming others, or avoiding responsibility. These unconscious habits hinder the development of mindfulness. Distractions. In the modern age today, one of the greatest challenges to mindfulness is distraction. Smartphones, social media, technology, and the fast-paced modern lifestyle make it difficult for people to focus on the present moment. A person may be eating a meal, yet their mind is preoccupied with tomorrow's work, or they may be talking to a loved one while still glued to their phone screen. These distractions make the mind restless, anxious, and unable to dwell in the present. When the mind is overwhelmed with excessive information and external stimuli, maintaining mindfulness becomes extremely difficult. How to overcome these obstacles? Although there are many obstacles, with persistent practice, one can gradually transform them and cultivate mindfulness in daily life. Recognizing and contemplating. To overcome greed, anger, and ignorance, we must first recognize them. When feelings of desire, anger, or delusion arise, we should not suppress or avoid them, but instead observe them objectively. Practicing mindfulness. Maintaining awareness in even the smallest actions helps strengthen mindfulness. When eating, focus only on eating. When walking, focus only on each step. This reduces distractions and trains the mind to remain centered. Learning to let go. Non-attachment to emotions and thoughts is a key principle. When we realize that everything is impermanent, we become less clinging and more at peace with life's changes. Cultivating compassion. With a compassionate heart, anger gradually dissolves. When we understand that everyone carries their own suffering, we naturally develop forgiveness and empathy. Meditation and deep reflection. Meditation calms the mind, reduces delusions, and enhances clarity. Through deep contemplation, we gradually perceive the true nature of the mind and the world around us. Living mindfully is not easy, as both internal and external obstacles constantly arise. Greed, anger, ignorance, old habits, and modern distractions all make it difficult to sustain mindfulness. However, by persistently practicing mindfulness, observing our inner world, and learning to let go, we can gradually overcome these obstacles and move closer to peace, wisdom, and liberation. Mindful living is not an unattainable ideal, but a practical path that helps each person find tranquility amidst daily life. Conclusion. Living mindfully, according to Buddhist teachings, is not merely a spiritual practice, but a path that leads to peace, wisdom, and liberation from suffering. When we live with mindfulness, we are no longer caught in the cycle of greed, anger, ignorance, or false perceptions. Instead, we learn to observe, accept, and let go, allowing us to fully experience each moment of the present. Through mindfulness, individuals can transform their personal and societal suffering. A mindful person harbors less anger, reduces impulsive actions, and perceives everything with greater compassion and wisdom. This not only brings happiness to themselves, but also spreads peace to those around them. Moreover, mindfulness is not limited to meditation or inner contemplation. It manifests in every daily action, from how we eat, speak, and work to how we interact with others. With mindfulness, we no longer live unconsciously or get carried away by old habits. Instead, every action becomes meaningful and deeply valuable. Although living mindfully is a long and challenging journey, persistent practice can help anyone achieve inner peace and liberation from afflictions. Buddhism offers various paths to mindfulness: the Noble Eightfold Path in Theravada, the Bodhisattva path in Mahayana, and the esoteric practices in Vajrayana. Regardless of the chosen path, they all emphasize contemplation, mindfulness, and wisdom to perceive the true nature of life. Ultimately, mindfulness is not an abstract concept, but something anyone can integrate into daily life. When we learn to appreciate each moment, reflect on reality, and act with compassion, life becomes lighter and more meaningful. This is the path to true freedom, peace, and enlightenment. Thank you for joining this journey through this topic of mindfulness living in Buddhist concept. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on spirituality and self-discovery. Oh,